We're so happy that you all are joining us today for Training Tuesday. Today, we're going to go over our updates and reminders. We're going to cover small business set aside, ad hoc reports, where you can find some additional training, and we'll end with our Spotlight Illinois. All right, so we currently have 31 calendar days, but only 23 business days until the last business day of fiscal year 24. Just a reminder, the last business day does fall on a Friday, so make sure you're talking with your SPO frequently about anything that has to be done by the end of the fiscal year. If you interact with a vendor that has questions about their IPG, their Illinois Procurement Gateway registration, please direct them to the Illinois Procurement Gateway help desk. This will assure that they are receiving a timely and accurate response. The last sole source hearing for fiscal year 24 will be held on June the 26th. This means that all sole sources intended for the June 26th hearing must be published no later than June the 12th. If you need a special hearing details form, because we are going to be having a special hearing for the normally scheduled June 19th hearing on a Wednesday, due to that being a state holiday, we will be having that hearing on June the 20th. The publication for the June 20th hearing must be completed by June 6th. The special hearing details form for this hearing can be acquired from your SPO. So again, do not use the one off the procurement resource library because there is special information for the June 20th since it's going to be on a Thursday. The bid buy bulletin description must state for this special hearing alone, the hearing will be canceled unless an interested party submits written comments or makes a written request for public hearing to the notice contact listed above by 4 p.m. on Monday, the June 17th, 2024. So again, if you have a sole source that you were planning to have on June 19th, that will need to be on June 20th due to the state holiday. Let's dive into the Small Business Set Aside program. A small business means that it is a business that is independently owned and operated. It is not dominant in its field or operation and meets the required size, status, and the following sales limitations. So for wholesale, that's going to be 13 million in annual sales. Retail business can exceed or cannot exceed 8 million in annual sales and receipts. Construction business cannot exceed 14 million in annual sales and receipts. And a manufacturing business can only employ up to 250 persons. CPO Notice 2024.10 was released earlier this year and provides the procedure for small purchases. It additionally updated the NIGP codes that are set aside for small businesses. You can review this training on our Training Tuesday recordings. That topic was covered on April 27th, 2024. On March 5th, 2024, we covered the Small Purchase Set Aside program on Training Tuesday. On October the 24th, 2024, we covered the Illinois Procurement Gateway. Each of these trainings are important because they are all used in conjunction together while processing procurements. Today, we're going to look at how these work together. So CPO Notice 2024.10 identified 14 pages of NIGP codes that are set aside for small business set aside program vendors that are actively registered. Therefore, whether you are completing a small purchase, an IFB, or an RFP, if you are using any of these NIGP codes, it would be set aside for small businesses first. There are a few exceptions for sole source or emergency conditions. for the small purchase process. If you will need to, or you will need to include in your solicitation or request for quote that only registered Illinois small businesses will be considered. So how will you know if a vendor is truly an Illinois small business though? Well, vendors that meet the requirements to be an Illinois small business must use the Illinois Procurement Gateway to register and become a registered Illinois small business vendor for the Illinois Small Business Set-Aside program. Therefore, if you are needing to look for or verify a small business set-aside program vendor, registered vendor, you can find that information on IPG without even logging in. The image on the left of the screenshot of the IPG home screen. You can select the vendor directory, which will open a new screen and allow you to search active IPG vendors. If you want to search for all, so if you're getting ready to solicit for an IFB or an RFP, you can look and see how many vendors there are that are registered utilizing the NIGP code and selecting SBSA set aside. And if you select yes, again, in reference to the Small Business Set Aside program, it's only going to show you those vendors underneath that NIGP code and that are part of that program. If you're needing to look up a specific vendor, then you would just enter that vendor's name in the first text box that is indicated by business name. These are important things to remember because if you solicit to small businesses and perhaps none respond, then you would need to utilize the Small Business Set Aside program waiver prior to issuing a new solicitation to also include large businesses as potential vendors. We have updated the SBSA waiver in the Procurement Resource Library. This updated form had minimal changes, but updated reference to the most recent CPO notice. As you fill out the form or waiver, please assure to select the appropriate box for your procurement. You must provide a brief description of the procurement in the identified text box. The requester will also need to fill out the procurement-specific information prior to entering their name, title, and signature. If the procurement was designated, meaning that the agency has an approved state agency designation form for procurements under 20,000, then the APO will need to sign on the bottom left. If the procurement was not designated, then the agency will need to submit for the SPO signature, which would occur on the bottom right of the page. So again, as you're looking through and completing procurements, make sure you're paying attention to those NIGP codes to see if your procurement must be set aside for small businesses. And again, that can include IFBs and RFPs. If they are, you will need to double check that the vendors are registered in IPG as a registered active vendor. And if you do not receive any responses prior to going out to those large businesses, you would need to complete the Small Business Set Aside program waiver. Let's talk about ad hoc reporting, especially with that end of fiscal year quickly approaching. Knowing that the time is ticking by quickly, you may want to take another look at what your agency has expiring. As a reminder, you can find our ad hoc reporting video within our bid buy training with the corresponding job aid located with all of our other job aids. You can filter the job aids by business intelligence to quickly find how to find expiring contracts job aid. If you need a refresher on renewals, please review our training Tuesday from January the 2nd of this year. In our CPOGS Training Center, you can find all of our available trainings, which do include our Introduction to Illinois Procurement. This is an instructor-led course, which is the Introduction to Illinois Procurement, and it will be held on June 5th. This course is intended for State of Illinois procurement employees that have not previously taken the course. You must register in order to be able to attend. Our Bid Buy monthly training will next be held on June the 12th. You do not have to register in order to attend. Our Bid Buy practice session will be held on Thursday, June 13th. There's not a set schedule for that session. It's if you have a specific bid buy operations type question, please bring it and we can talk it over on how bid buy works. If it is a very procurement specific question, we do ask that you go ahead and take that to your APO or SPO for input. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Latanya to tell us about Arcola.
Good morning. Our Spotlight, Illinois, brings us to Arcola today with a population of just under 3,000 people. Key people from Arcola include John Barton Gruelle, who was known for the creation of the lovable Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls and storybook characters. Also, Jeannie Garth, who was best known for her role as Kelly Taylor in Beverly Hills 90210. Some draws to Arcola include the Raggedy Ann Museum, which is currently operated by Gruelle's granddaughter. Arcola is also home to the world's only hippie memorial, which is showcased as a 62-foot piece of artwork. And lastly, the Aikman Wildlife Adventure Park is a drive-through park that occupies the space of the former Rockholm Gardens. Which brings us to the interesting fact. Rockholm Gardens was a nationally known tourist attraction which operated nearly 80 years until it was sold in 2015. And being from Illinois myself, it was one of the childhood memories that I had. We had tons and tons of field trips to Rockholm Gardens. That concludes our Spotlight, Illinois.
Thank you so much, Latanya. All right, guys, I will give you a hint too. Our Spotlight Illinois will only be running through June, and after that, for the new fiscal year, we'll be launching another into our Training Tuesdays. So join us and keep attending to find out what that is in July. We will still keep our Training Tuesdays in June, but it will be the last of our Spotlight Illinois series, though. If you have any other questions, please email them to us at cpogs.training@illinois.gov. If you have any procurement specific questions or anything about the fiscal year end coming up, please reach out directly to your APO and SPO. Have a wonderful day.